Welcome back into another edition of our Senior Spotlight. I'm Logan Lepiscopo, and today at the desk, not somebody typically associated with Woosin, but nonetheless a comm major, Erin Lang. Welcome to your Senior Spotlight. Does it feel surreal that you're about to graduate in a few weeks?
It's really weird. I keep looking at my calendar and I'm like, there's graduation. I can see it.
So to kind of start things off, just talk about what brought you to Waynesburg during the whole application process coming in as a freshman.
Mm-hmm. So I first heard about Waynesburg at like a college fair, and someone came to my high school to talk about it and stuff. And because Waynesburg is such a small school, my high school is very big, and so there weren't a lot of people there. I think I was the only one at that meeting, but got to really have like a very personal conversation about the university and just kind of like asking about the ideals of the university, because that was kind of important to me. I wanted to go somewhere that was faith-based and have my faith be my own. I didn't want to be forced to go to chapel or church so many times in a semester as I heard other schools do. So being able to go somewhere and be able to choose my own faith and direction of my faith was really appealing. I also, it's close to home. I live about 45 minutes away, so that was also really important to me because I had two younger siblings who were in high school or going into high school at the time. We're spaced 2 years apart, so my brother's 2 years younger, my sister's 4 years younger. And I wanted to be around for them because they're highly involved in music, and so I wanted to be the supportive older sister to go and see their performances when I had the chance and to be there for them to support their aspirations like they supported mine through high school. So that was really important to me, just like distance and faith initially, because I came in undecided. So I wasn't sure initially what it was that I wanted to do, but I eventually decided on communication.
So we talked briefly before coming in here, sitting down, that you were originally an electronic media major, switching over to communication. So what kind of made you take that step into switching your majors and even picking up that minor in English?
So I did choose electronic media originally because I thought that I wanted to potentially pursue film. And I really like storytelling. It's a huge part of my life is writing stories, and I wanted to try and go that route with video editing and storytelling through that way. But I came to a point eventually where I wanted to expand my knowledge so it wasn't just that, because we have a very broadcast heavy department here. And broadcast isn't necessarily what I want to do. I'm not a news person at all, so I want to focus on storytelling and being able to write or tell stories, as I've said. So I thought that a general communication major was the route for me, being able to potentially write and do something like PR or something, and have the different abilities that I've learned throughout my classes of being able to write something, being able to write a news release or an article, or even some design stuff, some video editing. So I have multiple skills that I think are marketable, which is, I think, it could be really appealing to people who are hiring, which is part of why I made that switch initially to communication.
So with the major change, obviously you've been involved with pretty much every professor on the floor, as everybody is, regardless of your major. Would you say there's any one specific professor that's maybe helped you a little bit more than the rest, or maybe how have all the professors here in the comm department helped you out?
Yeah, I think Melinda and her experience within the TV world has been huge. I think that she's helped me be a better videographer and being able to use those skills and learn how to put together video in a video package or a video PSA or something. So it's been very beneficial learning those skills from her. Professor Krause has also been really big in the past year or so that I've had him in classes. Just been very encouraging and pushing me to do my best to go and reach out, and I've had some crazy experiences that I thought I never would have had. It's encouraged me to reach out to professionals within the field to do interviews and stuff. So I've interviewed at least 2 people from Marvel for 2 different classes, which has been really crazy and really huge for me. So having those opportunities was amazing. It's something I never would have had if it wasn't thanks to his encouragement and stuff. And Mr. Wilson has also been really big, not just as a professor and everything, but even just like personal encouragement every now and then, asking how I am, checking in every now and then, and just kind of like being that extra encouragement, even though I don't see him every day like the other professors because he's not here. But it's really encouraging to have those professors who want to check in on you and know about like your personal life and stuff like that.
Right, and you mentioned picking up video editing, being involved with videography. You just this year picked up being a co-producer of a show here on WCTV,
Yes.
Nerd Alert. So what has kind of been the experience there, and have you like kind of fell in love more with the production side of things?
I really have. I have been a part of Nerd Alert for 3 years. And it was something that was just so much fun whenever I started. I was very much behind the scene person. I didn't start getting on air until my junior year. So it was really cool to be a part of like the growth of the show and seeing it grow. And came to a point where I saw the show and I had my own thoughts about how it could be better and some things that could be tried out. And I pitched some of those things to Rebecca, and she threw me on and everything, and it was so much fun to be a part of it and to be able to collaborate with different people within the group and get their thoughts about what do we want to do. I put out a form and said, what are your interests? What are you guys interested in? Here are some of our ideas, and kind of let them almost guide some of it. So we had a Star Wars show, and I knew specifically what people were interested in Star Wars, which was huge. And you're able to kind of like play to everyone's talents and their interests, which was really cool and I think was really fun to utilize. But being able to go and kind of like make those choices and make those calls on some things and being able to put it together and say like, I made this, was so cool, and I really enjoyed that experience.
And with putting things together and getting a lot of experience, you had your internship this past summer with the
Yes.
Washington Wild Things. Talk a little bit about exactly what you did there, because in your presentation for internship, you kind of said that you did quite a few things with your time there.
Yeah, so I was primarily a videography intern while I was there. So I was recording games for our live stream. I was in charge of different equipment and things for us to use, and depending on where my position was, I was tracking players on the field, I was tracking the runners and batters, and eventually I got to be behind home plate, which I had never done before, but it was really cool to have that experience as well. And also just the fan interactions were a lot of fun, getting to meet some new people, and I actually had the opportunity to take some photography while I was there too for two of the biggest events that the team had, which was the Three Rivers Celebrity Softball game and the Frontier League All-Star game. And I got to wander around, take pictures, and interact with people, which, while it wasn't initially what I had thought that I would be doing at all as a videography intern, I thought it was really cool to gain that experience and kind of gain some more skills of, I was able to adapt to the situation, and I was able to enhance my photography skills and prove that I am flexible and I'm willing to go and do things maybe outside my comfort zone every now and then, and I was able to produce some really cool stuff for that.
So at the Washington Wild Things, you were surrounded by all the people here in the
Yes.
communications department, a ton of guys that in the sports side of things, you got to sit alongside. What is one thing about Waynesburg and the people here that you are going to miss the most?
I think part of it is the energy. There's so much energy within the comm department and among the students, and especially the senior class. I've made a lot of friends within the last couple years. It was hard for me to get involved initially, and part of that was because of COVID, because it happened freshman year for us. And so coming in sophomore year as a communications student, eventually it was hard to integrate into that. But I think as a junior and moving into senior year, I was able to make a lot of really good friends that I'm hoping to maintain those friendships and everything. And yeah, a lot of it is just the energy and kind of the community that we've built up here, and just the relationships, I think, because you're not going to see these faces after this year and everything unless you work in the same field. So it's definitely going to be something that I miss, is this environment.
And then kind of one final question to wrap things up. What are your plans for the future? I know you mentioned job searching wise. What is kind of the field that you're looking towards going into when you eventually do walk across that stage and get your degree?
I am looking at a variety of things right now. I haven't had anything set in stone at the moment, but I'm looking for some video editor positions, videographer things. I'm also trying to explore stuff in PR. More of a creative services side of things, because I do want to storytell. It is something that is a key part of who I am, and I think that that is something that I do want to do. So being able to go and give my abilities in that way and be able to storytell for a brand or for a company, I think is going to be something that is going to appeal to me and something that I'm really looking for when I'm looking for jobs.
Now, I have to ask you, you said you weren't big in sports, but is sports possibly in play down the line for videography?
Potentially. Again, sports isn't my wheelhouse at all, but I think depending on what it is, I wouldn't be opposed to it as long as I'm not filming games. I think if it's more of like a player highlight or something, or telling a story about a player, something that I might be a little bit more open to.
Well, Erin, thank you very much for sitting down with me. I've been able to watch you the past 3 years, and you've kind of grown more and more into roles, so very much looking forward to what you do once you graduate from Waynesburg. But that's all the time here for this episode of Senior Spotlight. Stay tuned to the WCTV YouTube page where you can catch the rest of our 2023 spring graduates.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.